Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our Tuesday night Parsha class. This week is the portion of Emor, and in it, there's two halves. I would say this first half talks about the priesthood, the Kohanim, and laws related to the Kohuna, who they can marry, who they can bury, who they cannot bury, and defile themselves in coming in contact with the corpse. If they're blemished, what disqualifies them from serving in the temple, who can eat the sacred food from the temple, and so on. The second half of the portion discusses all the Jewish holidays, Shabbos, Pesach, Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, and all the details of those holidays. So I want to speak tonight about the holidays of Pesach, Shavuos, and that which comes in between them, the counting of the Omer. So just as a brief synopsis of it, we all know that on Pesach is a 7 or 8 day holiday, depending if you live in Israel and the diaspora. Those 7 or 8 days, a Jew is commanded to eat matzah and not to eat chametz. Not only are they not allowed to eat chametz, they're not allowed to even possess chametz. You're not allowed to have any chametz in your possession, whether you eat it or not, as long as it's yours. If it's not yours and it's in your house, that's not a problem. That's why we sell the chametz. That's what the chametz that we don't want to throw away. We sell it, it's in the house, but it's not ours. So we're not in any violation. Then comes the counting of the Omer, starting from the second day of the holiday, and that follows a special offering that was brought in temple times called the Omer offering. And the Omer offering was unique, that it was made unlike all the other meal offerings, minachot. They were brought, all the other meal offerings are brought from flour, regular wheat. Whereas the one Omer offering that throughout the year that's brought from not wheat but barley is the Omer offering. So that's unique too. And then comes Shavuos. You count for 49 days. And on the 50th day, we celebrate the holiday of Shavuos. And the holiday of Shavuos is unique. Because on that holiday, unlike throughout the whole year in the temple, all the meal offerings that were brought from flour, it wasn't allowed to be made from chametz. Not just on Pesach, but throughout the year, no meal offering in the temple was made into chametz. It was leavened. You weren't allowed to have leavened chametz in the temple at all, except for Shavuos. That was unique. And one other type of sacrifice. But Shavuos was an obligation that every single year, on that day, you had to bring a meal offering, and that meal offering, it was turned into bread, chametz bread. That's a synopsis of this Pesach, the counting of the Omer. Now, on counting of the Omer,
that's Pesach Sheni.
Pesach Sheni falls during the counting of the Omer. So on Pesach Sheni, we have a mitzvah to eat. If someone couldn't bring the first Pesach, the offering, he brings the second Pesach. A month later, Pesach, the second Pesach, he brings the Paschal offering. And again, this is only in temple times when they brought offerings. So in the temple times, to get this right, when they, on Erev Pesach, the day before the Seder, the day of the Seder, every Jew, every family was obligated to bring a Paschal offering, an animal, a sheep, to the temple. And if you forgot to bring that sheep, not forgot, but if you couldn't bring it, whatever reason, you were tamei, or you were far from Jerusalem, you couldn't bring it. So then, God gave the Jewish people a second chance, called Pesach Sheni, the second Pesach. When is Pesach Sheni? The second Pesach. A month after the first Pesach. Exactly 1 month.
It's not for the Erev Rav that cannot celebrate?
No. Every new Jew.
This year?
No, that year, no.
No, this year.
Yeah, it's this Friday, yeah. But we don't have Pesach Sheni anymore in the way it was, because we don't have the first Pesach either in the sacrifice. We can't bring sacrifices today. So Pesach Sheni today,
The second chance to bring sacrifice to the
the second chance to bring the Pesach sacrifice.
Pesach sacrifice.
Yeah.
If you didn't brought it.
If you couldn't bring it the first time.
And also eat matzah.
Yeah.
That's
But what's interesting over here is that when it comes to the second Pesach, the Mishnah tells us, the sages tell us that you could eat the matzah and you can eat chametz if you want. You can, if you got to eat the meat from the Paschal offering. You can eat matzah, but if you want to have a Danish in the middle, you can have a Danish. Or a bagel, or a pizza, you can have anything you want, any chametz you want, with the Pesach meat and with the matzah. You can have a bagel or whatever you want, pretzels or any chametz. Comes to, but if you don't want chametz, you don't have to eat chametz. It's up to you. You have to eat matzah and you have to eat the meat, but if you want some chametz with it as on the plate, you can have it. You can choose, you don't have to. Comes to Shavuos, you have to. Over there, you must have chametz. It's an interesting thing over here. You must have chametz on Shavuos. The offering must be turned into chametz. I want to read all this in here, and then I'll talk about this tonight and see how all this relates to me and you. Okay, so let's start on page 1 of this leaflet, of this handout. The Omer, you see on the bottom where the arrow is? Okay. Hashem spoke to Moses saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you shall enter the land that I give you, and you reap its harvest, you shall bring an Omer from your first harvest to the Kohen. Now, sages tell us that from these words, from your first harvest, we learn that the Omer is brought from barley, not wheat. Why? Because which is the first harvest of the season? Barley is always growing before wheat. You harvest the barley before the wheat. But I want you to turn 3 pages. The last page of this handout. Over here, I'm quoting over here, it's a copy from Maimonides, Rambam, in Mishnah Torah, in his book of law, the laws of the Omer offering. And I have the arrow, law 11, where he says clear, the Omer would come from barley. This is a halacha communicated by Moses, our teacher. It's all the way from the first year when they brought the Omer, it was brought from barley. This is going to be important. Okay? Got it? Okay, now let's go back to the second page. I just did a little detour. Now, when do they bring the Omer? On the second day of Pesach. Right? From that day, look at verse 15. You see it? The Omer count and Shavuos. You see it? On page 685. It says here like this, you shall count for yourselves from the morrow of the rest day, from the next day after Pesach, after the first day of Pesach, from the day when you bring the Omer of the waving, the day when you bring the Omer offering, you should start counting 7 weeks, and they shall be complete weeks, full 7 weeks, 49 days. Until the morrow of the 7th week, you shall count 50 days. So right over here, there's a little bit of an interesting paradox or discrepancy. Is it 49 days or is it 50 days? In the first verse, it seems to say 7 weeks, which is 49 days. But then it says, until the morrow of the 7th week, you shall count 50 days. So I don't know what it is. Is it 49 or 50? We know that we only do 49. But why does it say 50? We'll talk about that.
Not from the evening holiday, from the day after the evening.
From the second night of Pesach. Yeah. Now, it continues, and you shall offer a new meal offering to Hashem on Shavuos, on the 50th day. You shall offer a new meal offering to Hashem. From your dwellings, places, you shall bring bread that shall be waved, 2 loaves made of 2 tenth ephahs of measurement. They shall be fine flour, and look at these words. They shall be baked leavened. They have to be chametz. And that's an offering that was brought as a communal offering on behalf of all the Jewish people in the temple on Shavuos. This one had to be made from chametz. Get it? What's interesting about this is I want you to turn to the next page, source sheet 3, that this is in contrast to every other offering in the temple. Take a look at the third page, where I have the arrow, verse 11, from Leviticus. Any meal offering, you here with me? Yeah. Any meal offering that you offer to Hashem shall not be prepared leavened. For you shall not cause to go up in smoke from any leavening of or fruit honey as a fire offering to Hashem. So in the temple, as a rule, nothing was made into chametz. Not only on Pesach.
During the whole year.
The whole year. No meal offering was ever allowed to be made from chametz. There are two exceptions. One is what we just read on Shavuos. Over there it had to be made of chametz. And there's another personal offering that a person that had a very, very special thing that happened. He was saved from a big illness. He was saved from prison, and he was saved from captivity, and he was saved. Then he brings a korban todah, a thanksgiving offering, and over there too, there was a part of the offering was bread that was made leavened.
So what is lechem tamid?
Lechem what?
The two lechem. The two.
Of Shavuos. The two lechem of Shavuos.
It's only on Shavuot that you can bring.
That you have to bring chametz, yeah. The meal offering of Shavuos had to be made from chametz.
What is the issue with fruit honey?
So let's not get into that now. You can read the commentary, perhaps. On the bottom, it says about the fruit honey.
I see. Okay.
But that's not the topic of tonight. So you get it, right? On Pesach, you're not allowed to have any chametz. No chametz at all. You're not even allowed to own chametz. During the Omer, look at the fourth page of this source sheet. One last point. The Mishnah in the tractate Pesachim says, and I have an arrow there, Mishnah 3 of chapter 9, and it discusses that what is the difference between the first Pesach and the second Pesach. What is the difference? And he said, the first Pesach comes under the prohibition of it shall not be seen and it shall not be found. You're not allowed to have any chametz, not to be seen. Of the first Pesach, no chametz could be allowed. Whereas the second Pesach, both matzah and chametz are with him in the house. You could have Pesach, you could have matzah, you could have chametz, you have a big menu, no problem, no limits. Does it say you have to have chametz on the second Pesach? No, you could have it. What does it say about Shavuos? Over there must be chametz. So it's an interesting thing happening here. We're going from absolutely no chametz, if you want chametz, and you must have chametz. Okay? Clear? Now, here's a number of questions, which we asked already. Do we count 49 days, or do we count 50 days? In the verse, it would seem that it's going both ways. So why does it say we should count 49 if it's going to be 50? But we know it's only 49, so then why does it say 50? So we'll discuss all of this. And the question number 3 is, why is it that all year round we bring all our meal offerings from wheat? There's one Omer offering we bring from barley. What is the reason for this? Now, obviously, it's not just happenstance. Everything in the Torah is exact, precise. Everything has a reason, obviously. So if there's one Omer of one offering throughout the year that we say, and that's again a communal offering, it's brought on behalf of all the Jewish people, the Omer offering, that is to be brought of barley. Now, what's the difference between barley and wheat? The difference between barley and wheat is that wheat is eaten by humans, and barley used to be considered an animal food. That's what they fed to their animals. They gave barley. We eat barley too today. Seorim, Ken. Sora. So they gave the barley to animals. It was considered an animal fodder. Clear? No.
But also wheat during the whole year.
Yeah, only wheat.
Wheat.
The whole year they brought only wheat. Once a year, on the second day of Pesach, For this meal offering they brought with barley. Now, so it's considered an animal food, barley. Wheat is for humans, and barley was considered for animals. There's one other Omer or one other meal offering that was brought from barley. You know which one? The one that was brought, but it's not a communal one. This was an individual. You ever heard of the sota? The sota? The sota is a woman who was suspected of adultery. And her husband warned her, don't hang around with this and this person, and she was found to hang around with him after the warning. Isha sota, yeah. So she now is suspected of adultery, and the husband has to bring her to the temple, and she has to drink a certain potion with water, and what? Not lechaper, to test to see if she's guilty or not. And if she is guilty, she would die, and if she was not guilty, she would be blessed. Now, as part of her ritual, she had to come to the temple, and she had to bring a meal offering, also made of what? Not wheat, but barley. And it says, why did the sota bring a barley meal? Not wheat. She's not an animal. She's a human. So what's she doing bringing a meal of barley, not wheat? Because the Mishnah says she did maaseh behema, so she has to bring a mincha of machal behema. She acted like an animal, so she should bring a meal offering of food that was given to animals. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So here's the question. If you tell me that a woman that's suspected of such behavior has to bring a barley offering because it's animal, because she's acting like an animal, not like a human being, understood. It makes sense. But the Omer offering was brought as a preparation for Shavuos to count the Omer. Why are we bringing that meal offering of barley, not wheat? Why are we animals? We're not animals. Why should we bring animal meal? So we got a lot of things going on over here. So let me try to package this all together and make some sense of all of this. So we all know that the difference between chametz and matzah. What's the difference between chametz and matzah? We all know chametz is leavened bread. It rises, the dough rises, and then you bake it. And matzah does not rise. It's flat, and it's baked before it has a chance to rise. Spiritually speaking, these two things represent the difference between the ego, the person who is governed by his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination. What is the Yetzer Hara causes us to do sin, right? Why do we sin? It's that person has a temptation to do something that he shouldn't do, he or she shouldn't do. Let's take the sota, for example. She knows it's wrong, what she's doing, and yet she's doing it. What happened? The Yetzer Hara got the better part of her. So she's having a struggle between what's right and what's wrong, and she gives in to the temptation, right? What happened in that moment that she gave in? She succumbed to her own egotistical wants and desires and temptations rather than humbling herself before God's will, before menschlichkeit, before your husband, before you vow to your husband. This is a sin. He shouldn't do it. What causes her to sin? Her ego. Every sin is caused by the ego. What is a sin? Again, you're putting yourself over others, over Hashem, over your husband, over your wife, over, if you're stealing, over your partner, or whatever it may be. Your ego is the cause for every sin. Chametz is bad. Chametz represents the ego. What's the ego? You're puffed up. You're rising above everyone else, above Hashem, above your commitments, above your promise to your husband, above your promise to your wife. You're putting yourself above everyone. Your ego, your chametz. That's chametz. Matzah, on the other hand, matzah is very humble, flat. It's self-effacement. You're putting yourself lower than everyone else. It's humility. It's the Yetzer Tov. What does the Yetzer Tov say to you when you're with this woman that's tempted to go with this man, or any other temptation you have? To eat not kosher, or to sleep late and not come to daven, whatever the temptation is. The Yetzer Hara is telling the person, you're important, your sleep now is important. Your temptation now is more important than God's will. Your ego, that's chametz, right? What's the Yetzer Tov saying to the person? His good inclinations, neshama is telling him, humble yourself before God's will, and go to shul, and don't violate your husband. You don't. So he's telling the Yetzer Tov is trying to cause the person to be matzah. The Yetzer Hara is trying to cause the person to be chametz. Okay. Now, and that's the struggle of life, right? Our bodies have temptations. The bodies are very corporeal, very earthbound, part of the physical reality, and therefore the body is drawn to physical things. Very much so. And if it has, then and the ego is a very big part of the body's experience. Correct? So Hashem says to us like this: I'm going to take 1 week a year where I'm going to tell you, under absolutely no circumstances are you going to have any relationship with the ego. 1 week a year, I want you to go and search your house, get rid of every vestige of chametz you can find. Every vestige of chametz you can find, and get rid of it. Don't even see it. Don't even possess it. Forget about it. Eat it. Don't even have it. No connection to it whatsoever. We all know that in every prohibition of the Torah, it's an interesting detail, every prohibition of the Torah, for example, pork, or nevela, to eat meat that comes from a cow but wasn't slaughtered, so it's not kosher. How much do you have to eat in order to be guilty? Even the smallest amount, right? But biblically, only if you eat a kazayis. Kazayis means an olive's worth, size of an olive. If you eat a little crumb of pork, you didn't violate the Torah's prohibition. You don't get lashes for that. It's too small. It's not considered eating. It's not considered eating. There's one exception. That is chametz on Pesach. Chametz on Pesach is even b'mashu, even the smallest amount you're not allowed to have, because it represents such a negative. The chametz has to be completely eradicated from our system for at least 1 week a year. The ego is a terrible, terrible thing. 1 week a year, you're to be flat. Be matzah only, just be humble completely. But here comes the question. Is ego always bad? Is the ego inherently a bad thing? Well, it seems like we just said it is, right? It's the source of all sin. It's the source of all discord. It's the source of all problems. The ego. Why do people fight? Because of their ego. Why do they get into, arguments? Because I'm right. I have to be right. Now you offended me. My ego is standing out. So it seems like the ego is the worst thing in the world. However, it depends. Not always is the ego a terrible thing. I'll give you an example. Imagine you're walking to shul on Shabbos with your suit and your tie, and you look Shabbosdik, and it's all beautiful. And a guy comes jogging near you, and he starts screaming at you, "You filthy Jew," or some other anti-Semitic thing. And he starts harassing you, and he starts belittling you, and he starts making fun of you, and he starts doing whatever. What should you do then? Just walk further? Some would choose to just forget about that guy and just walk further. But some would say, wait a minute, I'm not going to allow a person to step on my Jewishness like that. I'm not going to be someone else's doormat, allow an anti-Semite to step on me like that and then belittle me in public like that. Forget about it. I'm going to answer him. I'm going to allow my Jewish pride to take over, to be present, to be manifest. Or a kid in college, and there's a big demonstration against Israel or against the Jewish people. And the Jewish students could become very intimidated and run away, and I don't want to stand out, and I don't want to wear my yarmulke, I don't want to wear my tzitzis, and this and that and the other. Or you can say, no way, under the sun am I going to hide my Judaism. I'm going to manifest my Jewish pride. So is that a good thing or bad? That's obviously a good thing. But where does that come from? That also comes from, it's pride. It comes from, I feel I'm important. My Judaism is important. So that ego already is a positive ego. That's not a bad ego. That's a good ego. The word ego has a bad connotation. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the word ego in itself is not always bad. Sometimes you need that. To believe in yourself. To be able to rise against all temptation, against the rising. There was once a chassid, you hear this? There was once a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. I'll tell you two stories. There was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe that he said, later in life, he said, there's one thought that kept me from sin. Every time he was tempted to do a sin, he said, me, Moshe, the big Moshe is going to do a sin like that? And he never did it. I'm such an important person. How could I allow myself to succumb to a sin? So his ego always saved him from sin. He always said to himself, I'm going to do something. Me, the big Moshe, is going to go do such a sin. So that saved him from sin. So sometimes pride and the sense of, I'm important, self-worth, self-this, that's a good thing. However, because we're earthly bound bodies and we're very physically oriented, the ego sometimes, when you let it go unchecked, it can drive you off the lane and off the path very quickly. So to be able to balance a healthy ego against a negative, a sinful ego is not always so easy. It's not easy. And for that, we have the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Now comes the counting of the Omer. After Hashem says, after the week of, what's the counting of the Omer? We said it's 49 days, right? We all know Kabbalistically, we'll give you a little Kabbalah. The Kabbalah tells us that 49 days correspond to the 49 attributes of the soul. Now, really, there's only 7 attributes of the soul, but every attribute is intertwined with all other 7. So you have 7 times 7. Let me give you an example, 2 examples, yeah? What are this? I'll give you the first 2 attributes of the soul. Love, kindness, right? Love and kindness, and judgment and severity. Right? Discipline. 2 opposites. I love my children, I love my spouse, I love my friends, I love the Jewish people. It's Ava, Chesed. What? And Gevura is the second one. Gevura is strict judgment. I pull back. You don't deserve. Right? Chesed is giving. Gevura is holding back. Okay? Those are 2 emotions within ourselves, right? Hate, this, is part of that. That's why I pull back, because I don't like that person. So, judgmentalism. Okay. When a father or mother love their children, right? But in the love, you have all of the other 7 emotions also. Let me give you an example. A mother tells the child, I'm punishing you today for your bad behavior. I'm taking away your television time, or whatever it is they take away. That's gevura, right? That's judgment. It's harsh judgment, discipline. But is that gevura or is that chesed? Where is that coming from? It's coming from her rejection of her child, or is coming because she loves her child? The reason she's doing this is because she loves her child. And when you love, you have to sometimes, part of love is discipline. That's gevura of chesed. Let me give you the opposite. Then there's people that are very judgmental. They're hateful. They're your enemy, right? Gevura. There's gevura. Good evening. Sometimes there's gevura, right? Gevura is the prime emotion. But within gevura you also have chesed. How do you see that? Where do you see that? Yasser Arafat. On September 13th, 1993, he stood on the White House lawn and he smiled and he shook hands with Yitzhak Rabin and hugged him and kissed him and did all kinds of wonderful things. He showed him chesed. What was that, chesed? What was that?
No.
He was stabbing in the back. He smiled to him in his face with the intention that over the next 10 years he's going to destroy Israel, or the next 30 years, or whatever it is. So it's chesed. He's showing him a smiling face. Wow, that's a nice guy. He's showing you a nice disposition. But it's not nice. It's anything but nice. It's the word. It's part of gvura. You see, the mother that disciplines her child, that's gvura of chesed. Arafat's smile is gvura, is chesed of gvura. Is the opposite. So every emotion, I'm giving you an extreme example. Every emotion has both, all seven. You have chesed of gvura, gvura of chesed, tiferes of chesed, and they're all intertwined. So the 49 days are here for. There's a reason why we're told to count. The reason is, and we say it in the Tfiras Ha'emer every night, the Tfiras Ha'emer we're told that we have to work every single day towards Mount Sinai. Don't forget, it comes from Pesach. What happened on Pesach? What happened over there when God took the Jewish people out of Egypt? They were in a very, very spiritually low abyss. It says that the angels were complaining to God, it's not fair what you're doing. You're letting the Egyptians are all dying and the Jews are all going out in their freedom, and they're really all the same. This one doesn't deserve more than that one. They're all idol worshippers. They're all the same basically. Why are you choosing these and to kill them and these to save them? So they were not in a good spiritual place. Yet Hashem in his love for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for the Jewish people, redeemed the Jewish people and schlepped them out of the abyss. That's what it says. So it came from above. It came all from Hashem. Nothing, we didn't do anything. We did very little to deserve this exodus. Very little. But once we got out and Hashem pulled us out, Hashem said, now it's time for you to start working on deserving this. I can't give you the Torah undeserved. I can take you out of Egypt because I have no choice. I got to get you out of here. But to come down and speak to you at Mount Sinai, this I can't do if you don't deserve it, if you didn't work towards it, if you didn't prepare yourself for it, and so on. So Hashem said, I'm going to let you count now the 49 days, and every day you're going to perfect another one of your emotions and purify it, elevate it, work with it, transform it, and make yourself a better person. And go through all the 49 steps. Right? So in that process, when you're working through your emotions, so you're still in the middle of the work. You're still in the middle of the work, right? So depending on the person, if you worked enough, you elevated yourself, and during the Omer days you want to have a little bagel, you want to taste a little chametz, it's up to you to decide, should you or shouldn't you? Hashem said, wait a minute, you got to figure out your spiritual place. If your ego is in check, then you can have, and your ego can be properly maneuvered, so then the chametz could be a very positive thing for you. Jewish pride, to stand up for your rights, stand up for your self-worth, and so on. That ego is a very healthy ego. But it depends on you. If you're too close to Egypt, a little too far from Sinai, then maybe you shouldn't eat chametz. So he leaves it up to us. Chametz or matzah ime babois. You can have both if you want. You don't have to. On Pesach Sheni, you don't have to have chametz. Right? You remember that? On Pesach Sheni, you don't have. It's up to you. And that means, and as God is leaving us to our judgment. If you're ready to introduce chametz into your life, then do it. Because it can be a very big, it can be it can utilize it for serving God in wonderful ways. As I said, pride is a wonderful thing in the service of a Jew. But because we're so earthbound and our bodies are so attracted to bodily things, and the ego, if you get a little more to it, you allow your ego to be a little bit too emphasized, it can also entrap you and allow the ego to take you into places where you don't want to go. So Hashem says, Hashem says, the counter Omer, those 6 weeks after Pesach, is really it's in your hands to decide where you are. How much did you perfect yourself already? Are you ready to introduce a little chametz into your life? If you don't feel you are, then stay away from it. If you feel you could, then by all means, chametz or matzah, imei babois, you can have both. But after the 49 days, when it comes to Shavuos, over there the expectation is that you went through everything already. You're perfected. So over there the Torah says, chametz te'afena. Over there on Shavuos, you have to have chametz. Because chametz is a crucial ingredient of serving Hashem. Because a healthy ego is very important. People that don't have an ego at all, and they're just doormats from every person that wants to step on them, are not going to get very far in their relationship with God either. So we need all of it. We need all of that. So I'm coming to you in a second. 1 week a year, Hashem says, this week not a drop of ego, nothing. I don't care if you're a doormat. Sometimes you have to break it so down that you just can't allow the ego to be in your life at all. You can't even see it. You can't even possess it. Forget about eating it. But then, after that, and by the way, this is why, go ahead, ask your question, then I'll get to barley. I'll explain to you why it's bread roast from barley.
We're talking about chametz as an analog for ego.
Yeah.
But I guess when you studied Tanya, you got into the notion that any ego manifestation which creates distance between you and God is the wrong kind of ego.
Right.
So as a rule of thumb, saying, is this creating distance between me and God? Am I less God conscious? Am I less bitter? Am I less?
Correct.
And then otherwise my ego's fine.
That's right. If it's bringing you closer to God, then it's great. If it's bringing you further from God, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And if you remember, I asked the question why this one offering of the Omer is brought from barley. The Sota's offering should be brought from barley. We understand she's an animal. She's behaving like animalistic behavior. So her offering should be animalistic food. But why the Omer offering? What's that? Why we're all bringing the Omer offering is being brought on behalf of all the Jewish people on the second day of Pesach. Where's the animal coming? Why is this made? Why are we animals?
Because maybe some
So the answer.
didn't have the chance.
Hold on. So here's the answer. That begins the Omer count. It's 49 days. What are we really trying to accomplish during those 49 days? We're trying to elevate the emotions of the neshama and perfect them 49 levels. No. What are we trying to do? We're trying to perfect the nefesh habahamit, the animal soul within us, the animalistic soul within us, which has 49 attributes that have to be perfected one by one after the next. So that's what the Omer count is all about. So how does it begin? With bringing an Omer offering, a meal offering of animal fodder, to represent the idea that now you're there. This is going to now begin a process of elevating the animal within the human, the animal soul within all of us. It's about the animal, not about the you. Your neshama is in good shape. Your neshama doesn't need elevation. Your soul, your animalistic, your human, which is the animalistic drive within us, needs elevation, needs perfection, needs transformation, needs purification. So therefore, the Omer offering begins with an animal offering, because and at the end of the day, our whole Avodas Hashem, why does the neshama come down to earth? The neshama was up in heaven before it came down to earth. Up in heaven, it was enjoying a wonderful relationship and closeness to Hashem. But Hashem plucks it out of heaven and sends it all the way down to earth to deal with what? For the neshama's elevation? No, the neshama doesn't need elevation. The neshama is just perfect up there. It comes down to work with the body, to make the body into something holy. And the body is driven by animalistic drives. So therefore, when the neshama comes down there to work with the body, it's more about so that 49 days is about the bodies, about the animalistic drives within us. The 49 corrupt emotions that have to be sifted out one by one after the other, with the counting of the Yom. Chesed shebechesed, Gevura shebechesed, Tiferet shebechesed, one after the other. So this is the process of there. I was going to tell you another story of the Alter Rebbe. I meant to say it before when we were talking about that the searching, the getting rid of the chametz is the ego, right? You can't have even one vestige of it. You got to get rid of every crumb. The Alter Rebbe, the night of the Bedikat Chametz, when he did search for the chametz, right, the night before Pesach, the Alter Rebbe would do this in his house. The Alter Rebbe's house, he didn't live in Windmill Ranch, and didn't have a very big house with 15 rooms. I don't think he had a house with even 2 rooms, probably, maybe 1-2 rooms. The house is smaller than this library for sure, not even close. It was half the size of this library, and it took him a whole night to do b'dikat chametz, a whole night till the morning. Started at 8:00 at night when the sun went down, or when the stars came out, and he went all the way till the morning. 10 hours of b'dikat chametz in a room half the size of this. What's he doing for 10 hours? His wife, I'm sure they had people clean the house before like every Jewish home cleans for weeks before Pesach. So the night of Chametz, the night of B'dikas Chametz, is really nothing left there to even find. It's just in case you miss something. It takes a whole person, takes him a half hour to go through a whole house. How long does B'dikas Chametz take? But he's spending 10 hours on one room. Because he wasn't only looking for the bread under the bed or under the cupboard. He was looking for the chametz within. What this was really was. Now the Alter Rebbe couldn't find any because he didn't have any chametz within. So he was looking and looking again and again, and this level, he went layer after layer into the subconscious. He was going all over his own soul to find if he can find a vestige of chametz. He probably didn't come up with much, if anything, most likely, for sure. But it's not just the physical chametz. 10 hours, you don't need 10 hours to look for physical chametz in a room that's 200 square feet. Looking himself, that's what this is about, the ego. And he was looking and looking and looking. He couldn't have there's nothing to find. We should, if we did chametz, b'dikat chametz like that, it would take us 2 weeks to find what we really have to find, maybe more. For 7 weeks at least, right? That's what we're doing for 7 weeks. But that's the process over here. Yeah. And even then, come Shavuos, and here comes the final point. Here comes the final point. This maybe is the most important point. I said to you, you need me? Yeah. I don't know, Korf is davening Ma'ariv. Give me 5 minutes. I said to you that Hashem took the Jewish people out of Egypt undeserved. They didn't deserve the Exodus. He did it out of love, out of kindness, and free kindness, because of a promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But then he said to them, "You can't. You got to start counting. You got to start working. You got to start deserving this. This can't be free lunch forever." So they started counting 49 days. Then it says they came to the 50th day. What's the 50th day? So the 49 levels, every day they climbed one rung in the spiritual ladder. They fixed one negative rung and one negative attribute, and they climbed one rung in the 49 levels of holiness. So there are 49 levels of unholiness corresponding to the 49 levels of holiness. So every day they left one, they perfected one level of unholiness, and as such, climbed a rung in holiness. So by the end of the 49 days, they will reach the highest level that a human being can reach on his own. What's the 50th day? That's a level that only Hashem could give you. And that's why we call it Matan Torah, the God gave the Torah. He gave us this 50th level. It says that once he brought us in, once the Jews entered the 50th day, the 50th level, they were there cooked for good. They were baked in forever. They can never leave it. They can never, stoop ever again to the 50th level of unholiness. It says in Egypt, they were at the cusp of falling into the 50th level of unholiness, and that's why God had to come that second and get them out, because there would be nothing to there would be nothing to take out after if they would fall into that level. It would be you're doomed forever. So Hashem takes us out just before we fell in there. It says He took us out the blink of an eye. Couldn't wait another second, because if He would have, we would have been in there. We would have been in the abyss forever. So He takes us out, and He says, "Climb quickly out of this, because And then 49 days later, they got into the 50th day. Once they got into the 50th level of holiness, is just the opposite of the 50th level of unholiness. Just like in the 50th level of unholiness, had they fall in there, they'd be doomed forever. Over here, once you got into the 50th level of holiness, you are saved forever.
Then we have golden calves.
Hold on. And that's why we tell the Rasha, we tell the wicked son by the Seder, if you would be in Egypt, you wouldn't have left. In Egypt, you wouldn't have, because that attitude would have schlepped him into the 50th level. He'd be doomed. But once the Jewish people went into the 50th level on the day of Shavuos, and they were united with Hashem at that level, even the Rasha can never be doomed again. Now he is part of redemption and salvation and part of Torah and part of Yiddishkeit, no matter how bad we are. So therefore, that answers your question. You can worship the idol, what they call the golden calf, and the Jews are saved afterwards.
And the 50s,
It was good. It got close to Naila. It got close to Naila, but Moshe was there.
How do you go through 49 to 50 levels of development, shedding your sinfulness in order to get from Egypt to Sinai? And then,
how do you do that?
All of that, fall in the tank for the golden calf.
You never believe in yourself till the day you die. You can never feel that no matter how good you are, don't believe in yourself too much. You can always slip. It's a good lesson in life. But here comes the kicker. Are we counting 49 days or are we counting 50 days? In the verse, it seems like we're counting 50 days, 49 and 50. It says both. The answer is we're counting 49. But the 50th level that we reached, we did our part to get there. It's not like it was given to us as a gift like the Exodus was given to us. In the Exodus, we really didn't do much. We didn't do anything. We ate matzah the night before. Yeah, we did one thing to give us some connection to some redemption. But other than that, we didn't do anything. The 49 days already, we're working our way out of the abyss and into holiness step by step. So although that level is a gift from Hashem, the 50th level, but it's a gift from Hashem, but that we ourselves worked towards and earned and prepared for. So that's why the Torah uses the language that's both. You're counting 49 days, 7 full weeks. But then it says in the words, it says again, you shall count 50 days. Tisperu chamishim yom, although it's not 50 days. Because by that 50th level, you're also getting and being gifted because of your tisperu, because you counted. So the 50th level is also as a result of your effort. So the counting it's as if we're counting 50 days, so the 50th level is like a somewhere in between. It's God's gift to us. Man itself can't reach that, and therefore you can't on your own reach there, but you're doing something for it. So Hashem is giving us the credit as if we counted the 50 days, like we ourselves earned the elevation into that level, although man on his own can never get there, and God has to make that happen for us. And that's what Shavuos is. It's interesting you say that. It says that he climbed the Har Nevoy. At the end of his life, he climbed the Nebo mountain, right? What is Nevoy? Nun Boy. In other words, he reached the 50th level. Nun Bo is Nevoy. Moshe had Nun Bo. Nevo is Nun Boy. He had the 50th level. We had it for a moment. We had it on Shavuot. That one time we reached it. But it was again, Hashem, now you have to earn it, you have to really earn it. Moshe earned it and he reached there fully. We reached there for a moment. And we get the credit for that. Tisperu chamishim yom, you counted 50 days, great stuff. But that wasn't yet a permanent connection to the 50th. It was a permanent connection to the 50th level that we can never fall away again and lose our neshama, lose our connection, and so on. But to really capture that 50th level, it's a life's work. Moshe reached it and captured it. He internalized it in every single part of his existence. So that's what's going on over here. So now we're in the middle of the counting of the Omer. Should you have chametz now? You've got to analyze your own soul and see how much you can handle. If the ego is schlepping you down, stay away from it. The ego is giving you a connection to Hashem. Eat as much as you want. On Shavuos, we're all in a good shape. We're all in a good place. And over there we can eat cheesecake and blintzes and chametz galore. And it won't harm us. It won't schlep us away from Hashem. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you tonight. And if you have any questions, be my guest. And otherwise, go count the Omer and go do what you got to do.
Is the closest to the 50 because the Da'at is next to that one. That's
Could
the
be,
closest
could
thing,
be.
the knowledge.
Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll be back next week for more. Good night.